Hey, what's up guys? Kolst here, bringing you a new video. This one is going to be a tier list and rankings of the classes in the new expansion that just came out, Darkmoon Faire. Madness at the Darkmoon Faire. So trying something new here. So recording this the day after the expansion launch has been just a little bit less than 24 hours, so there's not much data. But I think enough data has come in that I can make a pretty reasonable assessment of where the classes are going to end up. Of course, this is all very early and it may change a little bit, but also obviously at any time, keep in mind Blizzard could do a micro adjust, which could completely blow things up. But for a while, they don't tend to do that too frequently or too soon, so it should be a pretty good sense of how things will be for the next week, couple weeks, something like that. So yesterday I actually played 2 runs. I have my deck tracker open right now. They both went 11, tragically. It was a Demon Hunter and a Priest. They both felt pretty good, but you know, I don't make my analysis off of individual runs. So we're gonna get rid of that and look at the win rates. So what I have here, this is, if you're not familiar, this is hsreplay.net. This is the front page we're looking at. It shows the win rates. You want to make sure you have here, you want to make sure you select Arena if that's what you care about. Otherwise you're going to see numbers that are completely different, right? And what I have next to it is actually a screenshot. This is a screenshot I took yesterday, which was, I think, slightly after the expansion launch, but there was no data yet. So this is what the win rates were at the end of the last expansion. The purpose of that is so that even though we haven't, these numbers are still moving, but we can see a shift in a lot of the different classes. So you can see based off whether they're moving up or down, where kind of get a better idea. You don't know exactly where they're going to end up, but you can get a pretty reasonable idea. One thing before we look at individual classes, one thing that's very apparent, we came out of a meta that was extremely and honestly unusually balanced, since Blizzard had so much time to get the micro adjusts down in several months, so they were able to put things very close. So like you can see the last place class Hunter down here was only 47.8%, or Warriors 52. That's an extremely low spread. Generally, even by Blizzard standards, if that spread is like 45 to 55, they're pretty happy about it. It's very unusual to see it be that narrow. And as you can see, that's the one of the biggest things that jumps out at me the first time I look at this is this spread is going out. So Demon Hunter, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, has gone way up already past 55 and likely to go higher. Or Hunter's already dropped down below 45, down to 44, likely to go lower. And so beyond that, let's start looking at the individual classes. So Warrior, you can see, is dropping, not dropping super fast, but they drop by 1%. Demon Hunter, as we mentioned, is shooting off to the moon, basically, going very high. Warlock also moving up, not quite as quickly as Demon Hunter, but very quickly. Priest staying about the same. Paladin going up pretty high, but probably not going to pass the high classes up here. Shaman dropping a bit. Rogue dropping a bit, but not too much. And Hunter, obviously, tragically falling. And also Mage going up just a little bit, but not very much. You can kind of get a pretty good sense already just from that, where the classes are going to end up. I'm going to go a step beyond just the front page here and just these kind of relative movements that aren't super reliable, and look at something which is a little bit more reliable, which is the actual data of the cards. Haha, I'm over here now. Anyway, I wanted to jump over here for a second just to show you. This is the selection over here. You can look at, you can obviously select by all the classes here, or what actually existed before was a Darkmoon Faire filter here. I noticed that it was not working, and since I started planning to record this video, I refreshed and that button actually went away. So we can only see the last 14 days. But as I have down here, there's a trick to get the data that, at least some data, since the new expansion came out, and that is to select by set, go to Darkmoon Faire. So using this trick, we can actually see some of a bit more reliable data towards where these classes are going to end up. Now again, like, keep in mind there isn't a huge number of times these cards have been played. If you look at individual class, it's not a lot of data, but it's enough data where if you look at like Demon Hunter, for example, these are some really high win rates. And you look at the worst class, which was Hunter, and that is a shocking difference. So you can see get a pretty good idea from these numbers here. Now I'm over here, haha! Alright, I'm gonna rest over here just so you guys can see the full screen. So again, just to share a little bit of my methodology, like you can look at some of these, the easiest way to do this, you can filter by neutral, or you know, we can just manually look at some of these neutral cards like Claw Machine, Pearl Tusk, Dirigible. And if you want to compare classes to each other, you can look at kind of some of these win rates and just like the overall like average win rates and do this. I'm sure you could probably put all these numbers in a spreadsheet and do this really mathematically, but I've been doing this mostly with the eyeball test. So you can see like a Demon Hunter, these are really high numbers. You can look at some of the more average classes, like maybe like Paladin, you've seen something like 57% on average, something like that. Obviously, Hunter, really bad. A lot of these other classes. So I'm not going to go too much individually into all of these. I don't want to bore you guys too much. I will say though, you don't want to look at just like one card, because like for example, if you're looking at just Claw Machine, this card's gonna be a lot better in certain classes than others. Like Mage doesn't need the value, so it's not doing quite as well as it would in like Paladin, for instance. Even though I think these two classes are very similar based off these numbers. So again, just a thing to keep in mind. When you have a notepad here where I basically drew out what I think my tier list will be. So the clear one, we have a clear number one right here, which is Demon Hunter. Look at all of these, just how high these numbers are. The clear number two is Warlock, which is very high numbers, but just not quite as high. And then just gonna keep this list up now. You guys can obviously click through this if you guys want. But then next place was Warrior. I have this ... to show there's a clear separation. Like this would be tier 1 essentially, would be Demon Hunter and Warlock. And then tier 2 essentially Warrior, and then Priest and Paladin. These are all really close. I think Warrior was slightly above, but that's not super reliable. It could change. So, but this was like a clear tier 2 was Warrior, Priest, and Paladin. Then tier 3, all these classes were really too close. They're all very close, and try to predict too closely, but it looked like a pretty clear tier 3 of Mage, Druid, and Shaman. And then there's a big drop off again, and then you have Rogue near the bottom, and then honestly there's a bit of a drop off, and then Hunter at the very bottom. And obviously, given that you're always given 3 choices in Arena, if you just want to pick the 3rd choice, that means the bottom 2 are the 2 you never pick. So Rogue and Hunter are the 2 never picks for me right now, which is unfortunate because I enjoy both of those classes. If you enjoy those classes, again, you can still play them, but because of the big, because of this big difference that we were talking about, this is a huge drop off between last place and first place. You just have to keep in mind that I feel like winning when the meta is this far away, if it's really close like this, it's not such a big deal. Like a 4.5% difference, that's not that bad, but when it's a 10% difference, like, it's just not going to be fun to lose all the time. I'll just put it that way. So I guess the other thing I'll talk about a little bit is my first impressions of the meta, because honestly, I've only played 2 runs, so I can't say too definitively. I've been hearing a lot of different things. Some people saying it's a super aggro meta, some people saying they've had a lot of drawn out games. So it's a bit too early to tell as far as the meta. My experience is it's been pretty tempo heavy, but certain classes especially might be a lot more defensive, while certain classes are much more aggressive. I do think outside of balance, there's actually one significant thing I want to point out that's really important that is different now in this meta, apparently, looking at these stats. This was a suspicion I had on day 1, was that, wow, I'm seeing a lot of epic cards. And I looked at the stats, and yep, that is true. We are seeing a lot of epic cards. Now, one thing that some people have thought about is if there's going to be a new set bonus. It doesn't look like there is, but maybe just for epics there is, because specifically epics from the new set that are boosted. See, like this is Expendable Performers, a Demon Hunter card, which we had 2 of in our deck just by chance. And yeah, you see 27%. For reference, like I'm looking at the last 14 days now, the most common epic was 12%. So this is over double, right? This is huge increase in epics. And if you look at different classes, you're gonna see here, like I got Marsh Hydra too. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of these epics, so that's really important, right? Because before you just never expected epics, but now like Carnival Clown, you're gonna expect to see rabbits. You're gonna expect to see every once in a while, and these are pretty significant. Jumping through some of these other classes, just checking if there are any. Hammer of Naru. That's the one that you're unfortunately gonna see a lot of paladins have. Bloody Cahoon. I saw one of those today too, or yesterday too, from Freezed. So you just have to keep in mind that these cards that before you might have not played around, you are definitely going to need to play around, including Cascading Disaster from Warlock. That is a big one. Did not get hit by that one yesterday, thankfully. Now let's go back into class balance. So I'm going to reference a little bit to the class list. Obviously, two of the most aggressive classes a lot of the time, Rogue and Hunter, are right down at the bottom here. So I think once people have kind of figured out that those classes are terrible, people are going to stop picking them. So you're going to expect the meta to slow down from that, but not too much, because Warrior and Paladin I think are two of the most aggressive classes right now. You are going to see a lot of aggro from these two classes, and especially we got smorked really hard by a Warrior yesterday. So, and of course Demon Hunter has the ability to go aggro too, but part of the reason that Demon Hunter is so good right now is they got so many control tools. So really Demon Hunter just does everything better than everyone else right now, I think. So, you know, there's that. But otherwise, I don't think there's too much advice I can give you other than, you know, if you want to win, pick the good classes, essentially, and, you know, make sure you're playing to your class's strength. So you probably, especially given that how powerful like Demon Hunter and Warlock, because, you know, Warlock, because a life tap is going to win, can be very favored in control matchups unless you can actually essentially straight up fatigue them or pull off some kind of insane combo. Maybe something like Clown Survival of the Fittest, you know, that kind of combo, or the Mage Grand Finale, that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you're gonna have a really tough time beating Warlocks in the late game right now, so it'll be pretty good, especially if you don't get the great classes. You might want to play a little bit more aggressively. You don't have to go too crazy. I would still recommend mid-range, but, you know, keep in mind that you want to be able to be aggressive when you need to be against these classes that have better tools than you do. Otherwise, I don't think I have too much to say right now. Just get in there, get into the arena, and have some fun, because this is one of the more fun times. Just make sure, try not to fall into the bad classes, because that will probably make it a lot less fun. But yeah, anyway, thanks a lot for hanging out, everyone. As always, if you're watching this video today, I do not plan on streaming today, but I will most likely be on tomorrow, and as usual, I'll be streaming a lot on the weekends. Of course, if you don't know, I live stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/kolst. You can be sure to follow there if you want. Look forward to see more of you guys down there. Oh, and if you like this kind of video, make sure to like and subscribe if you so choose, and also comment down below. Just helps the algorithm and stuff, and that'll just let me know that you guys want to see more of this kind of stuff. So if people like this, then I'll be sure to do another one of these videos in a couple days or a week or however. Usually it's just a couple days when these kind of numbers really settle down and I have a better grasp of how the meta is going to settle. Again, the more you guys like this, the more of these I'll do, so just make sure to let me know. But anyway, thanks a lot again. We'll see you guys next time.